So hello and welcome to the new stream. This is the new layout that I have set up for the community conversations on Wednesdays that we'll be doing at 8 p.m. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it. I have sound now though, right? We're good here. Make sure the desktop audio is doing something. So we have Harding Brumby coming in a little bit. He is sadly running a little bit late. He was playing some tennis, the golden set veteran, obviously going for some golden sets of his own. I'm going to close the door, just make sure the volume's good here. Don't want the volume escaping, Sorry. All right, we back. So we have a couple of different things, but I want to kind of get the conversation started off by just explaining that we're going to be talking about proposed new rules for 2016. If you're part of the SRA group on Facebook, you know that this is a constant talk amongst the community. There's always somebody suggesting something that the company can do or the ways to change our game in different ways. Some of those are really simple ideas and easy to implement rule changes, and other ones are a little bit more complicated here. So there are a whole bunch of things that people have been talking about, and so I want to just give an opportunity to the entire community to discuss all of these options. And so for the next couple of weeks, it's going to be the goal is to do some of these rule conversations every single week. I'm going to try and have a new guest on. It obviously helps if the Red Sox don't go to Game 7 next week, as I've been told by other people in New England who I am trying to get on the podcast or on the show, sorry. But alas, we will do our best with all of that. So I wanted to kind of get the conversation started here. Like, what is your favorite rule implementation that you have lived through personally in the community? This can be something as far back as something in 2014 where they decided to start doing aggressive serves instead of a gentleman's serve. That really changed the entirety of the sport. But then there's also, other things like the sloppy first touch rule that was implemented this year. I think that one was probably the most recent one that's pretty notable. 2016 was the lean rule. What were some of your favorites and what were some of your least favorites? And in the meantime, what's up, Gasway? In the meantime, while that is going on, I'm going to answer Kirkaw's question here. Kirkaw says, what were your thoughts about the Facebook post Dylan made about the hinder redo that happened against Wabi Sabi? I think that if there is an unavoidable strong play hinder like the one that happened, then the team that caused the hinder should serve to the other team that had the strong play. Dylan and I actually have not had a lot of time to talk about this recently. So he posted that, 4 days ago or 3 days ago or something like that. And we finally just got to talk about it last night. I'm actually pretty much leaning the opposite way of him. Like, I don't think that should be a point for the other team. I know that it is like an unfortunate circumstance. But when you play a sport that's 360 degrees, I just feel like you're going to run into those issues, and there's not a whole lot that you're really able to do about it. I think that having a rule there would make it so much more complicated because there are so many instances where somebody just blasts the crap out of a ball and the ball goes into the person really quickly, quicker than what happened with Preston. And those would all result then in pretty much the same rule, unless you were going to throw something in the rule book, some verbiage that would say, like, if it's a slow driven ball versus a hard driven ball, then like the slow driven ball results in that, and a redo would be the fast driven ball. But like if I blast the crap out of someone who's bodying me and it goes back into my arm, half the time it hits me before I have even like completed my swing. Like I make contact right around here, and then I am still going through, and the ball hits me like now, and then I'm still swinging. So like I don't think that should be a falter, I don't think that I should lose an advantage there over something like that. What I do, so, and then if you start adding verbiage in the rule that's like hard driven ball versus soft driven ball, then we're getting into the ambiguity that I don't like, because right now our observers literally can't even get the well written rules correct. A la Wabi Sabi, our match, there were multiple mistakes made in that game, which really stinks. But the yeah, I just don't think there's like an awesome solution to it. I do like the idea of another team, like switching the server there. What I don't like is that I think that makes it really hard for viewers to understand, especially at a point where we're trying to make people want to watch our sport. I know people say like rallies are important, but I think being able to follow the rules is very important, which we'll get to in the consistent two faults conversation a little bit later. But what I've been thinking about specifically with some of the rules as we're going forward is like, how does somebody interpret this as a viewer? And I think that it winds up being really confusing. Like, all right, we're redoing the point, but we've switched people. And then what do you do? Like, do you get to elect who serves to you? Does the team that committed the fault get to pick that? Does it the next server in line and then they double serve in a row? Is it the last server reserve? Like, it just gets really interesting really fast, and I don't know that I like it. I think it's a worthwhile conversation, but I also think it's just a product of playing a 360-degree sport, and what matters the most, I think, is intent, and I know that Preston had no intention of getting in the way of that ball. So I think it just like unfortunately has to be a redo, at least for now in the sport. When we have referees, I think that we can kind of reevaluate that rule, or when we have observers that are so much better trained, then I think we might be able to talk about that as well. But it just kind of comes down to that. Was the music that quiet? It's funny. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. So what were you guys thinking for your stuff? I know my favorite rule that was implemented was sloppy first touch. I was the one that actually came up with that rule, borrowing it from volume. Yeah, what music? LOL. Well, can you hear it now? It seems like it's going through in the mixer. I want to make sure that is happening. Obviously still playing with things here, and some of these things I can only fix live. But my favorite rule that was implemented was obvious. You guys can't hear this? How about that? Are you guys hearing NSYNC in your ears now? Kirkall agrees with me that is the best new rule. Is anyone hearing the music? There's the music. Yes. Okay, good. Because that volume needs to be on for when Harding calls in. So that's very important here. It's super light. All right. I'll up that and down that. How do we feel about that? I'll tell you why. All right, Isaac. Oh, it's good, man. By the way, Isaac, how are we doing on stats for tomorrow? I am mortified to play this game live on the air, but I did say I was going to cover every single game, so we're going to do it. So I'm just going to checking in with you there. This is going to be a bad day for me, let me tell you. Did not play well in that game. So yeah, I think that like sloppy first touch was one of the best things that we could have done. I borrowed that rule from, if you guys don't know, I played volleyball throughout high school and 5 years in college. And having that first touch be sloppy just is like a simple way to extend rallies. I think it's pretty obvious to tell what one fluid motion is, and I think we've all figured it out, even if it was a little bit foreign to you initially. But yeah, I think that one just made a lot of sense. It was a simple way to create more rallies, and there's no question that it has created more defensive breaks and rallies in our sport. So that was just like something simple, but to be clear, like that one took 2 years to happen. Like it took 2 years of these conversations in order to get that to happen. So with a lot of these things, if you're really adamant about a rule, like make sure that you are constantly bringing it up and constantly bringing it up to different people and trying to talk them into it, because I had to talk to every single person on the board. I had to have independent conversations with people asking me what the hell that even means. Oh, what's good, Bryce? Good to see you, man. Always like to see my subs in here. We got like 3 or 4 of you guys. I love it. Howdy, Bryce. By the way, Bryce, I've been watching some of these videos that Spikeball's been releasing. I finally got to watch the stream, and you absolutely killed it on there. What a vet, man. This guy's the shit, man. I love him. But yeah, so back to the other things. I think my least favorite rule was definitely the lean rule. It was written in the rule book in early 2016. And I remember it was highlighted at the beginning of the year as like, here's a new rule, like you can't lean into the serving box. And I specifically like asked Skylar about it, because he, like Jack said that Skylar wrote the rule. And I was assured that this really just meant that like you had to control your body and that you couldn't fall forward with like your toes pointed down and serve the ball backwards. Skylar was like, I have video of me doing it, so like it's possible. And so that was the reason that I heard that rule existed. And then all of a sudden on April 22nd, the infamous day in 2017, actually, sorry, not 2016. Wow. Getting the years all mixed up. I've been doing this for too long, kids. But 2017, we take game 1 off of Chiswick Showalter in the finals at Baltimore, and all of a sudden Tyler and PJ are going like, by the way, Drucker, I think you're leaning. So who poke? No, I am not just reading sub chat. I do read the entirety of the chat, but I can see the badges, baby. Then we were like, yeah, that rule is just for this. And then we had to go to Mike White, and who was at the tournament. He wound up calling Jack, and Jack was like, no, like you can't have any part of the ball within inside of 6 feet. Like that is how it is written. Like you have to play that way. And that changed the entire dynamic of the game, totally got in Drucker's head, made him perform totally differently. And we still barely lost that match, too. Like, that was my best chance at beating Chiswick Showalter. And a stupid lean rule comes in, and then everyone goes, Drucker leans, Drucker leans. And then he learned how to serve without leaning, like, in 4 seconds. And then everyone the entire year just went like, Drucker leans, Drucker leans, Drucker leans. So it's my official least favorite rule in the entire world. I hate that it is impossible to call without an observer. Oh yeah, dude, Krakow, back in 2016, like leaning was the thing. That's why PJ's Fuengo was so disgusting, because he would stand at the line and you let PJ lean and he would hit it just like a disgusting amount that way. It was so hard to defend. Luckily we were all worse then, so like, but that's what's crazy is like you think his Fuengo's good now. Like imagine if he were allowed to reach in. Like there's a video from 2016, like the Chicago Grand Slam that Spikeball posted that was like, here's a slow-mo of Peter John's Fuengo, and you can just see him completely leaning in because that was allowed. There was no rule against it. It was a foot thing. So yeah, there was a time when that rule did not exist. And I hope to God that very soon we never have to hear about that rule ever again. There's some support for the rule changing, so I specifically hope that happens for my sake. Yeah, that's a thing. All right. Harding just called me on Skype, and I was not. I forgot I had to restart my computer, so I didn't have it up. Did you just call me? I don't. I might have a different one. Harding, what's your name there? Because we'll get you in on this conversation here, and then all of the fun can begin. Also, who is the Mangoon again? Like, there are like 90 people now, so I just don't know which one is the Mangoon. You're lefty on board? Of course you're lefty on board. It's up to something, they just not just bluffing. I love this song. I dance like a showboat. Ginobili with my left hand up. All right, we got Harding Brumby on the line, hopefully, when he picks up. Harding, what's good, man?
Hey, not too much.
Okay, chat, can we all hear Harding here? I want to try and get his levels good beforehand. So Harding, go ahead and say hey to people.
What's up, everybody? This is Harding, lefty on board, Brumby, coming at you with some possible rules hot takes.
All right. Okay, let me know how that is. It looks pretty good in my mixer, but I want to make sure that that is how we are going to be hearing him from. He's still pretty soft.
I'll make sure my internal is. I think my volume's turned up as much as it can go. But let me know. I'm on a Bluetooth. I can always try to switch to like the phone itself if that helps.
Okay. I mean, I think this will be good here. Okay, he's better now. We're gonna go ahead and mute the music here, just because there will be too many things going on. Let's go ahead and try and get you on some video here, and then let me see if I can work my magic. We'll try for about 2 seconds, and then if not, we'll just go to voice. I guess that's cool.
Gotcha.
So turn your webcam
I
on.
need to. Okay. I'm not real. Okay, here we go. I'm not super good at Skype. In fact, I might be better off switching. I wonder if I can switch to the computer to do this, but that's all right. I'll try to set up the phone the right way. I'm probably on the. Is it trying to connect or what's it doing?
No, I've got you here. Can you flip it the other way?
Oh, is it just flipped the wrong way? Yeah. Let me see. Is that better?
You took a snapshot. No, it didn't flip for you at all.
Oh, okay. Let me. Yeah. Oh, here we go. I just had to reinstall Skype on my phone, so I don't really know all the controls real well.
That just flipped your camera around, so I can see your computer now. It might be better.
Okay. So
do you want to just call on the computer?
Yeah, I'll try it on the computer.
Okay, cool.
Give me a second. All right, I'll hang up here. Cool. See you.
Cool stuff. All right. Well, we at least have the volume down correctly, so that's good. Oh, that's funny. So that one's called CS. And this emote is called Salt. That's so funny. Yeah, I was definitely salty that day. Like, there's really no question. All right. Okay, this is going to be much louder, so I'm going to preemptively turn this down. All right, we got to call in Harding. Where you at, man? All right, good stuff. Let me let me work my magic here now.
Just getting a light, so I'll be right back. It's kind of dark in here. Okay.
So we will add a window capture. Add source.
I suck at video chatting in general, but
no, I mean it should be fine as long as. All right, where? Well, it looks like you have a screen here. Why can't I find this window?
I mean, I don't have you, but that doesn't really matter. If you have me, I'm seeing myself in a little bottom corner window here, so I assume you would.
Window. No, not Skype. Okay, well, it sure does not appear to be working. So we'll just go ahead and go audio. We'll remove this. And I've got a wonderful picture of you as a backup here. So is everyone good? Can we all hear these things? Awesome. All right. Harding, you want to try your audio one more time here?
Yeah, what's up? You got me?
I think so.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Can you guys hear me now? Am I, oh, no, okay. I don't think I'm actually, what do you call it, echoing anymore. I heard myself for a second on your end. But whatever you did, this should be good. My voice got deep. All right, let me do the thing where I disconnect my mic. 1 second.
Yeah, I noticed that. I'm making sure I'm not double on Skype, just so I'm off it from my phone.
Okay.
I'm good to go from this end. Just let me know if you need to tweak anything else.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, is my voice better now? Do I sound like an idiot anymore, or am I good?
No more like an idiot than you usually sound.
All right, I got the money from Bryce, so we must be doing something right over here. Okay, so the three topics that we're kind of gonna go over, and then obviously, chat, please throw in your opinions as we go. We'll try and take a look at all of those things while we are going here. But the first one is going to be saying the score. Is it necessary? And if so, what should the rules around this be? The concept of having consistent two faults, meaning that there's no that you would get a second serve even if you miss the net or you hit the rim or any of the previous violations that resulted in a complete loss of point. And then the third one is the lip set. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up with Harding was because he was at the Spike Summit where we played with the triple rim set. So I know he has at least a little bit of experience with that. And so I want to kind of get his opinions on all of these things. But go ahead and throw your opinions on here, starting with saying the score. Is it necessary? I'll also be kind of taking notes as we go here because I can edit this document as we go. So pretty cool, huh? So Harding, you were the one that specifically first mentioned that this was one of the ones you wanted to talk about. So I'll kind of let you take it away here. What are your thoughts as it is right now, and like possibilities for the future?
Okay, so basically, you're talking about saying the score before the serve and all that.
Yeah, saying the score before the serve and the consequences of those things.
Okay, gotcha. All right, and I do not have the stream pulled up, but I just want to make sure there's no interference. But I am looking at the official rules to make sure I know what I'm sort of talking about based on the rules.
Oh, that's good here. You can like read the official ones. If you, yeah, like if you can pull those up and read what's actually there, that'd actually be super helpful.
Right. Okay. So I believe the applicable part of the rules is 461 under service faults. Basically, if it is a fault, if the server does not announce the score before their first serve. Okay.
Yes.
And then going back to the other one, I knew there was another, and then back to 451. The server must be centered over the correct position and set their feet. The server then calls the score to the receiver. Okay.
Okay, so 451 obviously comes before 461, right?
Yes.
And so what does 451 say again? Can you say that one more time?
The server then obviously starting centered over their position, set their feet. The server then calls the score to the receiver, placing the serving team's score before the receiving team's score. Okay. And then so there's that part, and then the later one says it's a fault if you don't announce the score before your first serve.
It specifically says first in the rule there too, huh?
Now, to me, that's clear enough that you do not have to say the score before your second serve. Apparently, some people disagree, but especially to me, it's black and white. It's only a fault if you don't announce it before your first serve.
So I would completely agree with that, especially because it sounds like these rules are kind of taking you through the process of like picturing setting up for a serve. And so the fact that it specifically says must call it before their first serve and then doesn't mention it on the second, I suppose that in the rules it would not be a fault on the second one by definition. My question, which is also kind of what Zafismo's saying in the chat here, he says saying the score is definitely necessary so people know when the serve is coming. So if you're not saying the score there, how is how are you supposed to get that person's attention on a second serve?
Yeah, I mean that is a fair point. I always just say second. That's the same thing that I say in tennis. I don't know if it's strictly required, but that's just my sort of the way I operate.
Yeah, that's what Dylan says too. Fun fact.
Yeah, so I personally don't see an issue with that, but yes, I get that there is some gray area if it's not specific in the rules. Like in this interpretation, you don't have to say anything. So really, even though I don't like the adjustment, I would be okay if a majority said, "Hey, if let's remove the gray area, let's make the server say the score and then second." I would prefer if we only require anything, we should just require a second or second serve, because the receiver should already know what the score is. But
Yeah.
but I think the bigger issue, again, I wasn't watching this match personally, but I know a couple times. I mean, I've been in matches once or twice where there's been controversy related to, did the server call the score loudly and clearly, and thus was the receiver ready for the return?
Well, that's what's getting interesting too, is people are saying like you have to say the score in order to make the person ready. But then when people either say the wrong score or the receiver hears that the person says the wrong score, even if it was correct, then it makes the person not ready to receive all of a sudden. And that's what I don't like about the rule.
Yeah. And that's where I do see maybe we could add something in there. I mean, to me, of course, my reaction to it just stems from tennis, since that's my kind of traditional sport from growing up. If I'm not ready to receive the serve, whether it's because of a wrong score or because of like a ball rolling across or something else, I just hold my racket up and then make no effort to return the serve.
Oh yeah, I mean, I do like the equivalent of that because I also play tennis, where I like hold my hand up like this, and I'm like, I am not ready. Like that is like my visual cue to anyone that like I am not ready, regardless of anything I say. So, I mean, I think that's important too. But I do think that they're the real thing, in my opinion, is that like once we move towards referees, I think this just solves itself, because like we'll just have a whistle, and like once the whistle is there, the play is live, and you have to be paying attention.
Oh, totally.
But in the meantime, I guess, like, what do we do about it? And is the score the best thing to say? Because I think it's getting like relatively common right now where people are stopping people mid-serve going like, oh, no, you said the score wrong. But then like if they didn't say the score wrong and they complete the serve and ace you, like, is that a thing? Also, does it say anything in the rules about it being that it needs to, like, you have to say the correct score, or does it just say you say the score?
The server then calls the score to the receiver, placing the serving team score for the receiving team score.
But it doesn't outline a penalty for saying it incorrectly.
It is a fault if you do not announce the serve. That's a good point. Let me make sure. Let me look through the rest of the faults here.
Right.
But yes, that probably is. I would say, even without debating, that is probably something we need to add to the rule. The server does not announce the score or announces the score incorrectly before their first serve.
Yeah, so that's what's interesting too, is like it's technically not a fault to then say the wrong score. It just says you have to say the score, but it doesn't say any, like it. I guess it doesn't say a score either. So is the correct score implied with the word the or not?
Yeah, I guess right now, going by the rules, if somebody says the wrong score, yeah, the receiver can stop them, but it's not a fault. The server would just get a first serve again because it's not a service fault.
Well, so then that leads to an interesting thing. If you leave that rule as it is, then could you elect to like try and play the serve and then before the second touch be like, never mind, you said the wrong score?
Right. I would say no, because there's nothing in the rules to really back you up. So that is kind of a loophole that I would say we need to close, whether we do it for the rules or not. I would say no score or wrong score before the first serve should be a fault. But yeah, I think the more interesting thing is whether we need to throw something in, like kind of specifying that if the receiver isn't ready, he must hold a hand up and then not make a move to return the serve.
Right. Because I've done that multiple times where in the middle of the serve, I will just say like, I was not ready for the serve. Like I will stop you before you hit the ball, because I don't want it to be like, I thought you were ready, and then they complete the serve, and then I don't want excuses after the fact. So I think that needs to be like a clear thing too, that like if you are not ready by the serve, even if like what they say at the if they say a score and you like, whether they say the wrong score or you think you hear the wrong score, like you should have to call it off before they strike the ball, because I think that just leads to a lot of like conflict resolution there, because otherwise you get people trying to like game the system here, and it's really annoying. And then I guess what is the rule for like if a team like if the score is wrong and if they say the score wrong and they complete the serve and then the team just like catches the ball as it was with us versus Schweppes in New York, should that be a redo or should that be a loss of point? Like, all right. Thanks for the follow, T. Whelan. I appreciate it. Thanks for throwing a set in that tip jar, my dude. All right. Question to you, Harding.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's kind of like, especially if it's still a fault, it would be kind of like, I got to look back at the verbiage on like high or pocket, because as of right now, that's kind of a free play, right? The receiving team can choose to play it or not.
Well, that's the thing is like, because it's not defined, like it could be that or it could not.
Play through a fault. Yes, I would say, unless we make any more substantive changes, a wrong score should basically be a free play. So if the receiving team wants to play it, they will.
Is that ideally or your interpretation?
That again, that's just mine. I mean, I would say it's pretty because, well, obviously right now, wrong score isn't a fault. So we would have to make it a fault to have 4-5-2-2 kick in, which is that players may choose to play through a fault.
Gotcha.
So I don't think a lot of people even really think about using that other than for high or pocket. But for any fault, the players, like the receiving team, can choose to basically not call it.
That is true. Like you are allowed to play through a rim serve if you want. Like if it like, and Dylan and I have done this in the past, especially when playing somebody like Chiswick Showalter, when it's a really iffy call and you get a good pass on it, sometimes you go like, it might just be worth us hitting this ball. So you like, so you can play through a fault that should be like blown dead technically, especially if you don't have an observer. So I guess in that case, like, why wouldn't you be able to play through a wrong score as like a free play?
Yep. So that's at least what I would move towards is add wrong score to no score under service faults, and then probably throw in something right after the current 4-5-1 under execution of the service, where basically kind of specifying exactly how the receiver indicates that he's not ready for the serve. And hopefully, now I know some people still have a problem with like, hey, people are serving too fast, So I guess that leads into, do you have to specify that the server has to like wait 1 second or 2 seconds or something like that?
Yeah.
That wouldn't be necessary, but I know certain people have called for it.
Yeah. Well, that is a thing with some people. I remember when Bonin was playing back in 2016 and 17, he was mid-serve halfway through the saying of the last score. So he'd be like 5-1. And like as he's saying 1, like he is like drawing his arm back to swing. And that I always found like kind of annoying. Like I do feel like you should be like say the score entirely and then serve, but also just something that's really hard to like call or distinguish between. It's almost like when we had the serve rule of like 2 inches. That's why we moved it to 4, because with 2 it was like, how are you ever going to distinguish between 0 and 2 or 1 and 2? At least with 4, like it's something substantial.
Yep. So I could see that that's putting in something like that if enough people want it. By the way, I'm going to try to go to the stream side and just mute it. If this makes our feed like go crazy or start distorting, let me know and I'll close it again. So give me just a second.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that way you can read chat, which I think will be nice.
So I just wanted to see if anybody else was kind of commenting or if I could interact with that. Okay, so yeah, just let me know if the quality goes away. It's on an ad right now anyway, but
I have ads.
Well, I think it's just because I'm not like a full like paid subscriber.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Well, I guess I am an affiliate now, so maybe I just automatically have ads. I had no idea. Do I have ads, people? I'm not getting ad revenue. Let me tell you that.
Okay, well, I think it's just, I think the only way, I assume it's like some other sites. I either have to pay or I have to watch these ads. Now it's on the stream.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't think anything is screwed up here. I don't hear an echo in my ears, so I don't think anyone else will either, which is good. So yeah, so like some interesting things here from like Austin R here. He says, should the receiver say the score, indicating that like they are 100% ready to serve or like ready to receive? I don't know that I like that one either. Like I do think that like the onus should be on the person to do it. And also the other rule that factors in here is when you say when you say the score, that then starts the clock that you have like 8 or 10 seconds in order to serve the ball.
Yep.
And so, is it 8 or 10? Do you know?
I mean, I don't think there actually is it. Is there something in the rules that say that? I
I'm
didn't know.
95% sure there is, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that was something that was like proposed, but
I, I know it was proposed, and I do like a time limit to kind of keep some of the like extended ridiculous fakes, under control. Um,
well, that was the thing is that like I don't think anyone's serve was going over 8 seconds as it was anyway. Like even back at the beginning of 2017 when Preston was doing his stupid dance serve that Devin hated so much, and he was like that should be illegal. Like he was only taking 4 seconds, so like I don't know like what you set that timer at really.
I was gonna say like 5 seconds, even if that, but I don't think there's a time limit in the rules right now. At least I'm looking through there and not seeing anything.
Interesting. Maybe that was just like something we had like talked about or like gentlemen's agreed.
I
Like,
think, yeah, I mean, I think either I brought it up or somebody else brought it up and I agreed. But yes, I mean that would be kind of reasonable to set some kind of clock.
yeah,
Um, and then I guess the other thing with that, which some people like, it kind of annoys me, but a lot of people when they serve, they'll frame the score as a question. It's like they're like making me acknowledge that it's right before they serve, which
yeah.
it's not like that because it's not part of the rules. Like I will tell them if it's not right. If it is, just freaking serve the ball and let's get the point started.
Right. Well, that's what's funny. So I asked the score on every single one at this time because, especially after, like, one, I'm bad at keeping track of the score, but two, after New York, I never wanted to get I never wanted to give free balls. So I just posed the question to four people, like not the receiver and not just the other team, but also my teammate Dylan is usually the one that answers me back. But
Yeah.
I always then like after asking the score, I then say the score. Like asking the score should not be your version of saying the score. Or if you pose it as a question, that should not count. But if you pose it as a statement, then I guess that means you're ready to go. So that's always how like I've dealt with that. I know I am really bad at asking. That is not a strong suit of mine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's something you can do. You could even ask, like, okay, say, like, hey, Dylan, what's the score? Or I mean, I guess tone of voice is probably good enough, but yeah, like, I will not expect a point to start until somebody states the score.
Correct. Well, and you shouldn't like, and that's where I 100% agree with you. And people can't like claim that saying like, all right, 15-12, and then they get a yes, and then they serve like that should not like that's not stating the score. That is questioning the score. So I would say that's very different.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I think that like pretty much covers most of what I'm getting here in chat. I like change it up so both of them have to do a thumbs up. I mean, the thing is like you can get very procedural with it, and it can be very much like, all right, do you consent to me serving? And then you go, yes, I consent to the serve. Like you can make it as formal as you want, but like then I think it just like honestly takes away from like the intensity of the game and kind of takes you out of it, and I don't like that. So I don't know if thumbs up is like the same thing, but I don't know. People should just be more courteous when they are serving. I think there should be like a serving etiquette video or like things you should do as a server, like that, like just indicate that you are ready to serve.
Yep. Oh, and this is a good point. Back in 3.8, which is about time between points, basically like points to be played in succession, balls recovered immediately, which of course is tough if you're on some hard surface and it goes 50 yards away. But
Yep.
once it's been given to the server, they must set the position, announce the score, and hit their serve. The sequence of events should take place within 10 seconds of recovering the ball. Okay, so that does say that basically once you have the ball, you have to kind of hit the serve within 10 seconds. But that sounds reasonable. I actually kind of forgot about that rule. Wouldn't have really known it unless somebody brought it up here.
That's interesting. I'd want to put a timer on myself. There were a couple serves during the Wabi Sabi match in the semifinals that I just like could not find a good foot positioning for where I wanted to start because it was either like loose sand that I was like clearly going to slide under, or I was like too close or too far. So I kind of like took some time to build it up. But I think on one of the serves I might have taken like literally 25 seconds, like from the time that I grabbed the ball. And then that becomes interesting, like especially on a surface like sand. Like, is that a problem? I don't know.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically, like I guess if you do that once, either whether it's timed by the opponent or more likely by the observer, if it's
Correct.
an
Yeah.
observer, it'll be first time is just a warning delay game, and then after that it'll be a fault.
All right.
So,
Then at that point, I guess I'm just getting warnings, so that's not too bad. All right, let's keep the stream moving here because it's already
yep.
8:45. So let's go on to the consistent two faults. This is something that I like really hadn't thought much about in terms of actually changing it, but I know that when we were getting questions last year from people that were like just joining the SRA, we would get a question of like, so which ones do you redo and which ones do you not redo? And I remember I was at a Smash tournament, and then I came up with like the explanation that I put forward, which is like there are on-net faults and there are off-net faults. So like if you miss the set or if it rims, that is like an off-net fault, so you lose the point. If it's an on-net fault, aka it goes high or it lips or it pockets, that one did in fact go like on and off the net, and that one, those are the ones that you redo. But even amongst all of that conversation, I never really considered actually consistently doing two faults. Is this something with your tennis like background specifically that you've like considered for a while, Harding?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could make the rules simpler and have less gray area if there's not a delineation between a fault and an infraction.
Yeah.
If everything is a fault and you have two faults, that actually keeps things simpler, and I would say would result in less debate because you're not trying to figure out was it rim, was it pocket, was it roll up, that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, and especially after my semifinal match with Wabi, Preston served one, and it was like, I thought rim, but it also could have been pocket. Either way, the serve was definitely no good, but the observers asked what I was calling, and I was like, it shouldn't matter. And they were like, no, you have to tell us what you're calling, which I think is the incorrect version of the rule, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure you can go to the observers with just no good call. But that one gets interesting because before, I know I had always said that like they can't be mutually exclusive. Like you can call high and pocket because it can like lip up above you. Like both of those can be factually true, but it can't hit rim and be pocket. But what I know is the serve wasn't good, and we lost the point because I called the wrong one. Did anyone else have any other interpretations of how that went down? That's like my interpretation of that point.
So I missed the beginning of the story. Did this just happen at nationals? Or
Yeah, it did in the semifinals. It was like the fifth point we played. It was like at 2-2. It was really annoying.
And what you called high, and it was actually a pocket, or vice versa?
No, I called rim, and no matter what, the serve was 100% no good. I think that their call was it was a pocket, but you called the wrong thing. So you asked us if it was a rim, so we are saying it is not rim. Therefore, right. You lose the point, which I thought we fixed that. Like, that's fixed, right?
And then this was an observed game?
Yes, there were 3 observers out there, and it was streamed. I mean, the stream went down, but still.
If a fault and infraction both occur during a serve, honestly, I'd say subjectively that's a rough ruling if there are observers.
Yeah.
But if you need a legal, I would invoke 4-8. Which basically says if a fault and infraction both occur during a serve, the infraction is called. So really...
Yeah, but isn't that about like stepping over the line?
I know you only call the infraction, but then you would have to resort to your backup saying like, well, it was a fault too. I mean, yeah, I know. It's
that's interesting though, because it's written.
You can say that it was yes, it can't be a rim and a pocket as well.
Right.
But you can just at least argue that if it wasn't a pocket, it was still an infraction. If it wasn't a rim, it was still a pocket, i.e. infraction.
All right, it's official. I am officially memorizing the entire rule book. I am over losing points like this. This is so dumb. Because yeah, you're right. I could have just argued like, well, there was also a fault, so I'm allowed to like both of those are allowed to.
If it didn't actually contact rim, it pocketed before that, so it's still an infraction. So I don't know. I mean, I think that's just an issue of like there being enough of a gray area where the observer kind of did not see it your way, right. And that cost you a point.
Yeah, and that's what was so interesting is so it was definitely the front of the rim, so it wasn't one of those like pockets that then hits the rim or something, or like a debate on the back pocket of like how much rim did it hit or something. It was a front, but like I thought that it definitely hit rim, they apparently didn't see it that way. So they said, which one are you going with? And I was like, well, I'm very confident in this, so I'm going to say that it hit the rim, but apparently that was not the right thing. I would say that
Yeah.
that was done incorrectly, especially in lieu of what you just read. But again, like, and like, this is why I don't want like subjectivity in the rules, because like even our best observers don't know that, like, how to implement that rule correctly, and our best players don't know either.
Yeah, that is a tough one. Maybe something else does need to get added to the rule to maybe protect you in that situation.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't notice you had that. Okay, so do we want to? I do want to throw in for the two faults thing, right? I at least I think that rule has potential. But again, like I said, I kind of like consolidating it. But my addendum, like you sort of referred to, I guess just earlier, I don't think I like the 2 points thing anymore. But what I do like, maybe nobody else plays this, but if you have two faults and you blow them both, the other team gets a point and you have to serve again. That I think is a fair punishment, because I mean, really, watchability wise, we need less missed serves. That's my opinion, at least. I think we need a big disincentive to like blow a whole point by missing your serves.
Yeah. Well, here's the main thing is that I don't even think you need a disincentive. I think that people need to actually recognize the actual incentives that are there, and that's one thing that like I'm trying to communicate on these like stream analysis is that I'm doing, is that scoring on your serve is actually far more common than people think. There are so many times that like there was like the game 2 versus of Chiswick Showalter Wabi Sabi, they played 38 points and there were 13 times that they won on their serve, and only 4 of those were aces. So that means that there were 9 defensive touches that were brought back to the net for points, which means that like you're actually scoring when you get the serve on about 20% of the time. That's in the title match right there. And I know when we did,
I thought there were hardly any. I mean, I didn't. I still haven't watched that match. I thought
yeah,
there were hardly any touches though, so that's interesting. I'd have to go back and
for,
some of those.
yeah, it's one of those things where I think it was much more of a misnomer than before. Like your ability to score when you make serves is actually far greater than what people attribute it to. Where they go like, well, you have to just serve because because that's the only way you're going to get breaks. But it's just like actually less true than people think. And so I know that was one improvement that I made this year, was like making sure that I just like made more of my second serves, and that resulted in Dylan and I getting far more breaks. And we're not even good at defense, so I think that like people just need to recognize that that's something that's actually worth trying to do. But I think you're right to say that from a watchability standpoint, our serve percentage is one of our like weaker points, and I think it's way worse than the number of rallies. I think this is like the first thing like on the list of making the game not watchable is like having 5 missed serves in a row and then rotating is brutal.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and yeah, like I've looked at some of the statistics. I mean, I don't know about nationals. I know for regionals, I kind of found out that like, yeah, I mean, Troy and I were winning a lot of points when we made serves. And so, yeah, maybe people will just realize that. So I guess I'm open to either way, whether letting the statistics speak for themselves,
Right.
Or, I mean, I don't know. Like, I doubt that my idea, like, it might be too far outside the mainstream to have any chance of adopting it for next year anyway, other than maybe doing it for a non-sanctioned tournament somewhere. But yeah, like I agree. Yes, aces and 1, 2, 3s won't go away anytime real soon in the sport. But I'd definitely say that missed serves are less exciting than either one of those significantly.
Sure. Well, like, I guess here's the question for me too, because I think like I'm very harsh on implementing rules without testing it, but
Yep.
I think that rules fall into like 2 categories, and I think that one of them is like simple rule change that we then like play for like play through, and then there are other ones that are just like far more costly, like a like a new set, or allowing a fourth touch, or like if you know, like a body doesn't count as a first touch. Like I think that those are like just so much bigger than something like this. Like, do you think that the like going to a two fault system in the off season and doing that season in 2019 with two faults would be moving too fast for this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I'm I don't think I of course it's my sort of pet idea, so I like the idea,
Of
but
course.
might think it is moving too fast. Like
Mhm.
I don't see it as a radical change because it'll only come into play, of course, if people really miss two serves, and hopefully people will realizing it's disadvantageous to do that, so it won't really be applied a lot. Um, Hopefully people will be making more, especially if they have a second serve. They should at least make their second serve.
Well, that's the real thing, is that I think that a lot of people just don't have a second serve because they haven't really been incentivized to do it. I got incentivized to have a second serve because on my first serve, I miss high so often that my second one, I wind up dipping lower to then keep it lower from its initial point so that it doesn't go as high. And my second serve percentage rate is far higher than my first. But I think that if you apply that to other people, I think that they would develop a second serve. I think they develop a safer version of their cut serve, or not doing a backhand, or not doing any of these things. But it would also allow you to take a little bit of risk on the first one. So I think it's going to create a culture of second serves. That's my opinion, and I guess it remains to be seen. But like, I mean, that's what happened in tennis, right?
I don't really know the history of how long second serves have been around, honestly.
Yeah.
Just as long as I've played, and I feel like for a while beforehand.
Well, at least in the game, I know that like scoring on your serve is incredibly important. So like that's why people
Yeah.
do, in fact, like just put it in play. I mean, they
So
obviously
the
have
second serve is for most people more of a put it in play serve. I mean, not
exactly.
terrible, but it's not one that most people aren't necessarily trying to get the point right away on their second serve.
Yeah, and so that's where I guess it becomes an interesting thing. Is I think that's like an old mentality, at least for me it was, because in 2016 I really went up there and just clocked the thing as hard as I could every single time, because I thought like, all right, well Dylan and I aren't going to play defense, so like we may as well just get it on, or just try and go for aces, and that's how we were winning back then. But I just don't think that's the case anymore. And especially like even playing with Drucker last year, like he got more touches than I would get aces most of the time. So like it was better to bet on like a safety serve. So I think that like honestly people would adapt it pretty fast, and I think that if you don't think that that's a good idea, I would say that I think you're probably wrong.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, it's definitely something we can discuss and hopefully at least see how it works, whether it's right away or at some point during the year. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean the one thing too is that I would say with all of these rule changes, like I don't like mid-season rule changes, especially after switching nets in the middle of 2016. Like I just think that was such a bad look, and we should never do that again. And Spikeball's lucky that that wasn't catastrophic. So I wouldn't want to see anything change mid-season like that. But I mean, and that's why like I want to have these conversations now, and I think that it also kind of helps, like that's like why I'm asking board members to try and get on, because like now we're just kind of doing our work while we're also talking to the community, which I think is cool too. But I think all these things kind of have to happen in the off season, and then the question becomes, how do you bridge the amount of like testing that you should do, and the lack of tournaments to test it on in the off season.
Yep. I mean, hey, is Flurry going to happen?
I
I
don't
mean,
know. I mean, I know, like, I mean, I've gotten a zillion DMs about it, so I may as well just throw it out there. Like, I'm considering throwing something in the winter, but I don't have anything planned. Don't ask me about it. I'm definitely talking about it, but I mean, I know like Flurry was a disappointment last year. Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is was just like fine last year. Dylan and I went to that, and it was fine. But I want to do like a big one, and I want it to be like actually good. So I'm on board to do something like that, but I also definitely like need some other people's help. So I'm debating it, and then that would be a good one to test something at, but it just
yep.
then depends, like I don't know.
Well, obviously Chicago, you need indoors, and
Yeah.
you can probably work indoors. But I mean, shoot, we could always try to make Santa Spikes a lot bigger thing. Do something in Florida, or even Savannah is playable in the winter. I'm just thinking out loud.
Mhm.
But you know, I mean, hey, the South does have a little nicer weather throughout this part of the year.
No, for sure. And that's why, I mean, I always liked the concept of having that big indoor tournament, though. Like, Flurry just had a lot of things that I liked about it, and I want to kind of take my spin on it, would be my idea. But I like the idea of it going indoors because I think that people don't do that enough. So those are kind of my thoughts there. But I mean, it would be a great place to try and test this out. But I know when we did the summit, which for those of you that don't know, before the Chicago tournament on Friday, a bunch of Spikeball Elite players were invited to test some of these new things out, which we'll talk about with the lip set here. But we did this, and did you find anything like inherently flawed about it?
You're saying the lip set?
No. The consistent two faults. We tried that too.
Oh, okay. You think inherently flawed?
Or just like something that stood out immediately.
Your question.
Yeah, like was there anything that just like stood out immediately that was like, oh, I don't like this, or oh, I really like this?
Oh, in terms of what the stuff we tried.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so which one of the ones was the dumb one? The setter standing outside 6 feet. I think we all agreed that was not a real productive one.
Yeah, no.
The hitter standing outside of 6 feet or starting there, I kind of liked it. I don't think you liked it very much, but I might remember that wrong.
I mean, I didn't, but I didn't think it was nearly as bad as the setter. The main thing I don't like there is like you cannot enforce that without referees. Like you just can't. How are you going to do that in the middle of a tournament?
Well, or lines, right?
Right. Like also we don't even draw lines. Like why are we drawing more lines?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. You would need lines or observers, probably just lines. So yes, the enforcement, yeah, that could be a difficulty. But yeah, let's see. So there were those two modifications, and then what were the other things we tried? Obviously, we tried the higher set, and there was at least one other modification. Oh, we did the 2 serves thing, right?
Right. So what were your initial impacts on that while we kind of close this out?
The higher set, I kind of liked how it made the hits more challenging. I know you weren't super into it, but yeah, I mean, I kind of like the fact that it did sort of close down some options, and I forgot the statistics looked like, but I felt like it resulted in more plays and more rallies. But and I know you didn't like it as much, so you're welcome. You can kind of talk about what you didn't like about it, and then we'll see if Andrew or any of those other guys, are open to the idea or what the audience thinks.
So in my opinion, with the lip set, it basically just made every single person have to hit like me. Like you just had to hit high. But I like in my experience with, I mean, it was the last thing we tried of the day, and I think that our net was pretty tired and was trying to compete the next day. I don't think it actually even resulted in that much more. Like I think it like when it did result in stuff, it just wound up being really stupid. Like it wound up just going like super high and like 4 feet off the net.
Right.
So I don't think it like allowed, like I think the concept of the lip set initially, and I could be wrong here, I didn't invent this thing, obviously, I hate it, but I think the point was to try and give the ball some air so that like you either like had to hit higher, or it would like when it did lip, it would just make it go up slightly more so that you had time to get under it. And this one is just like it's going up and you could be going the wrong way and you'd still touch it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand that point of view. I thought from like, I don't think it was quite as one-dimensional as maybe you saw it. I mean, I remember I was still able to kind of like to win some points with sort of crafty drops.
Yeah, you were.
Advantage of the fact that y'all were playing more off because you might have thought I didn't have a certain option, and you just have to have like you have to really know how hard you're hitting it and how high.
Right.
But yeah, I see that. I mean, honestly, yeah, I'm not sold on the higher lip set being sort of a solution. I mean, to me, what's more interesting is something. You ever played badminton before?
Yes, I sure have. I love badminton.
Okay, so and I think there's maybe some other sort of balls slash other things which have this property, but in badminton you can hit the birdie, or
Mm-hmm.
like the shuttlecock, whatever the proper name is. You can hit it really hard,
Yeah, it
but it
goes
sort of
like 200 miles an hour.
it starts dying, quickly,
Right.
So I just think it'd be interesting
Hmm.
if there was ball technology that starts to that's not to say I don't want to take power away from the game entirely, but something that starts to deaden the hits and thus I don't know effectively. I'm not saying have an actual boundary, but effectively will start limiting the range on hits. So, but that's
Interesting.
farther off, experimental. Wouldn't happen until like obviously we have to experiment with it next year and then see about 2020.
Oh, just to be next year, like ball hasn't even built one yet, so it's literally not coming. But it
Right.
is one that people talk about, and I think I think that people have like false illusions of what this set is going to do. Um, if
Uh
it
huh.
did what they said it was going to do or what they thought it was going to do, like I might be more on board, but in general, like I don't think it's a massive solution, and I think it's like a massive undertaking for the company. And then we all just have to buy new sets. And then remember, I don't know who it was.
Yeah.
Was it Larry?
Would not.
Like posted like if there's a lip set, like we all get like new lip sets if we exchange in our pro sets. Like no, like you have to buy a new set. Like and that's what I also don't like about it.
So I know
Hey,
we're
five
kind of.
star Adam, thank you for the follow. Thanks for throwing a set and tip jar, my man.
I know we don't have much time, but what's your take on going back to the old ball or at least trying it? Fan,
Um,
not fan, undecided.
so here's the thing: is I don't hate the idea. I don't mind playing with the ball as much as the set, as long as we don't do anything too stupid with it. Like a ball could maybe be a little bigger, but I also think that it needs to fit in your hand. The Going to the old ball, I think it would neutralize a lot of the spin, and it would definitely like make cut serves less of a thing. But other than that, like I mean, that ball, the main thing is that like it's too easy to control. Like that was the biggest adjustment in 2016 was passing the heavier ball was just easier. It was way easier to set. It was way easier to control. And at a point where like we're trying to um, almost create more bad first touches, like I think it'd be bad for the sport.
Oh, you're saying because are you saying the old ball is harder to control than the pro ball?
No, the pro ball is harder to control. The pro ball is
Oh,
like springier and
I,
like thinner.
okay. No, I kind of get that. I mean, honestly, I've not played other than that one tournament in Germany. I've not played on the old ball much.
That's funny. I
Um,
didn't realize it was on the old set there. But
yeah,
yeah,
on grand finals we played on a regular ball, regular set. The big thing I noticed is that my serve kind of sucked, and I
yeah,
think maybe that's due to. I mean, not that I'm known as a big cut server anyway, but I just wasn't really getting much pop. I wasn't forcing bad touches, um, and yeah, and I think it's just kind of the less spin on the ball. But yeah, I guess the easier set thing is kind of interesting. But
yeah. Well, that's the
yeah,
thing is that like people are already complaining that we don't have enough rallies. And like, sure, if you hate the cut serve, it'll eliminate that. But what it'll also eliminate are like bad first touches because people will just be able to set the ball cleaner. Like there will be fewer errors, there will be more like saves from off the net and more 1, 2, 3. And that's I think the harsh reality of it. Like trust me, I'd rather go to the old ball. Like I like on the old ball and the old set, like I was really, really good because it was just about like being consistent and not screwing up, and that's why Dylan and I won. But I don't think that's good for our sport. Like the one thing that I do like the biggest thing people say, like, what's the difference between the pro set and the regular set? I say it's the ball because one, you can put spin on it, and two, it's a lot harder to control. So I think like the pro aspect of the set is being like you have to be more skilled in order to control this.
yeah. Yeah, I mean I get that point of view for sure. I mean, I think longer term, what's going to like save rallies, if that's even a thing, or like
Sure.
bring them back, will be some degree of messing with the ball and or the net. Maybe it's something that people haven't come up with quite yet, but something about changing the physics of it. Um, But yeah, that's just my take. I like that future better than trying to introduce boundaries rather than trying to like have some circle where you're having to like dive across it rather than step in it, because I know that's another idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely something we're going to keep debating and talking about. And I don't think there'll be anything, I doubt there'll be a huge sea change in 2019, but it's obviously something that we're all still talking about and seeing what we can come up with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one, I will say that rallies aren't dead because that's my opinion here. But also, like, what is definitely not dead are breaks. Like, breaks are still happening, and not just on serve. So, if you want, like, if you're gonna define a rally as it having to go back to the defending team again too, so it has to be a serve off the net to the receiving team, then a get by the serving team, and then another get by the receiving team at least, if it has to have at least 3 changes of possession like that, then yeah, I think like it would be faster to change the set or change the ball. But in the meantime, what I like is like implementing these little rules like the sloppy first touch rule that allow you to like get a few more opportunities just naturally with the rule, and then we all just keep working on defense. Because like, I mean, at this point, like, would you say that we've improved on defense from like 2016 to now?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because obviously I remember back in sort of the first heyday, at least, of Vengeance, a lot of people just didn't really feel like they had much of a chance.
Right.
And we're practically like, okay, yeah, we're gonna have to play perfect, otherwise we lose because we can't get we can't get touches against them.
Exactly.
Attitude. So yeah, I think and hope that defense will keep improving, and it's all about me. I still have fun playing. Just sometimes I have doubts about the watchability of it, and a lot of that hopefully will go back to less missed serves and zero zero touch points basically. So anyway, that's my thought on it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm in like, pretty much agreeance there. I'll agree that like if we change the set, like we will get more rallies. There's a million ways that we can guarantee that happens. I guess the question is then, like, is that the sport that you want it to be? Like especially with the way we did the lip set, like getting you're getting more defensive opportunities like that, like because it just lips super high in the air. Like, is that what we want? Like, I don't know. And that's where I think you have to find a balance, because the best part about spike ball rallies right now is that they're incredibly dynamic and they're difficult. And so when they happen, people go like, holy cow, this is so cool. But if they're like commonplace and they're not that hard to do, and all you have to do is like kind of do a basic reaction that like not a real athlete would have to do, then like I just don't even think it's really that cool.
Yeah, I hear that, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you can still see the, like, some of the physically quicker or like quick reacting, people can get crazy touches on stuff.
Exactly.
And hopefully more of those people will continue to join the sport or to stay in it, and there will be more, more strange embraces, more rookies type,
more
people. Yeah, exactly. Some people just kind of like can see what's going on, and so whether it's anticipation, quick moves, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it'll definitely be kind of interesting to see where it goes, and to see if, like, I mean, really, I think team wise, CS has owned the sport for 2 years, and hopefully people, I mean, not, people are still going to try to keep being, getting as good as them and better than them and beating them, but yeah, I hope that somebody else who really, whether it's Hilltop, whether it's somebody else, somebody new, hopefully there will be one or more like real challengers in the near future.
Yeah.
For me, it would make it more interesting at the top level. I mean, all respect to those guys. Their serves are amazing. They obviously can generate highlights even while they're kind of destroying teams.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully there'll be more of a narrative of like, oh, well, like actually being suspense about who's going to win a tournament.
Yeah, I will say that, like, in terms of who's going to win a tournament, like, maybe that one is a little bit more boring. But I would say that, like, there were plenty of storylines
for the rest of the podium and for even top 8s or top 4s this year. Like, and that's why, like, I don't think it's entirely dead. I do think that, like, we don't have parity amongst CS and the rest of the people. They're a very clear outlier. But once you get, like, down below them, like, then, like, 2 through 7 are pretty good. And then there's a whole other range from, like, 8 to 16. And then you got people like Spikers Anonymous still coming up and, like, making the pro division. Like, I just don't think that we're as stale as people say. Like, sure, maybe CS wins every tournament again next year, but they're just that good. That's the thing. Like, I think we all just need to get better. They super teamed themselves into that position, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's a goal that everybody else has to keep kind of shooting for, you know, and figuring out, well, like, what can we do to, whether it's returning better, whether it's serving better, you know, like, figure out the magic solution to, like, how do we actually win more points than they do. So yeah, and hopefully a lot of people, like, will keep at it, and we'll see what people come up with along those lines.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
Yeah, right. Obviously there'll still be lots of other good matches and lots of other high levels of competition between other teams, and everybody will see, you know, just kind of see how well they can do next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think next year is going to be a little more volatile than people think, and I don't know. I'm definitely excited for it. I cannot wait for that to actually happen. I'm actually getting a little cabin fever. I'm getting cabin fever just, like, being home too much, not being on the road playing spike ball. Kind of weird.
You gonna try to play every tour stop again?
You know, I'm not making a promise at this point for every tour stop. That, like, my goal for the season, my overarching goal was, like, I want to go to and compete in all 18 of the tour stops. Well, there were 19, and then I canceled Dewey Beach, which wound up making 18 and 18 have a better ring to it anyway, so that's fine. But I mean, I'm going to try and go to, like, almost all of them. The main thing is that, like, I don't know, somewhere in the middle of, like, 5 in a row, 1 weekend off, and then 7 in a row, like, somewhere in that 7, I was just like, I could really not go. So I'm not going to say that. I also want to, like, allow myself opportunities to, like, do other things traveling that aren't just spike ball. But right. I will say that, like, it is going to be another high priority for me, and I'll be at most of them for sure.
Okay. Awesome. Well, yeah, should be another exciting year for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. All right. Well, I think I'm going to end the stream pretty soon here. So thanks for joining, Harding. I'm glad you were able to get out of your tennis match in enough time to come in and join us. Maybe next time I'll figure out how to actually get some video going in for you. But in the meantime, you got a pretty nice picture of yourself up there. So.
Yeah, I got to see if anybody got anything good of me from this year's Nationals, because that's back to the indoor Nationals. But
yeah, it's a year old now. It's crazy.
Yeah, time flies. Yeah,
seriously. Wow.
But yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. And yeah, are you streaming tomorrow as well?
Yeah, I'll be doing us versus Point Loma.
Okay. Yeah, should be fun. Well, yeah, thanks for having me on here, and we'll chat soon. All right.
All right, sounds good, Harding. Thanks for joining.
All right. Peace.
All right, bye, Harding. All right, well, that was our boy Harding Brumby. I'm very glad that he was able to join us. That was fun. I've never had him, like, on stream before, but he's always been very active in the chat, and he has always been very generous to the stream. As you can see, he was our last tip, so he's always been very supportive of me. So as a fellow board member, I wanted to get his take on all these things too. He also just has, like, a very unique perspective, and, like, we tend to disagree a lot, which I think just makes for better conversation. I could have a conversation with people that just agree with me constantly, and I think it'd be a lot more boring for you guys, because then we'd basically have to argue with chat, and that would be that's just not as fun. So yeah. So what were your, like, favorite things in all of this? I think, honestly, hearing what the actual rules were for saying the score, like, now I understand why all that confusion was there. And yeah, like, when I was, like, a week before Nationals, like, someone made a thread, I think it was actually Harding, that was just like, yeah, so, like, your thing with Schweppes, like, they shouldn't have been able to take points on that. And I was like, oh, that sucks, because that was a rough day at Summer Spike, and then not making the semifinals there really hurt on that one. So, yeah. Anyway, I think that's about it. Thank you all for joining. Been live for an hour and a half now. I'm gonna let you guys kind of talk it out. So feel free to stick around here. If you like what I'm doing, feel free to smash that sub button. Trying to get to 15 here. That would be sick. Also, shouts to 3 subs that happened offline after yesterday, which was awesome. Those people were... why can't I see them? Where are you? AJC Daily, Sanford Spike 13, and Andercat Dog, my roomie, who is sadly not here. She's up in Minneapolis, so I got the crib, just Dylan and I, bros, a couple of days kind of a thing here. Anyway, thanks for everything. I thought this went very well. And I will talk to you guys later. Oh, we're live tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central as well. Oh, let's go Harding.
Great work with the stream. Good to have something to keep me engaged in the off season.
All right, Harding with another cold 10 there. Sick, man. Thank you so much for that. I'm really I'm glad I could have you on. You definitely didn't have to pay your way on, but I appreciate the support. You're the man. But yeah, we're gonna be live tomorrow at 8 as well. It's gonna be Vengeance versus Point Loma, and spoilers, I don't play well in this game, but it's definitely something that I need to watch and I need to learn from, especially while I'm not able to play a whole lot. So yeah. Haha, that robo voice. Yeah, the robo voice is sick, man. All right, well, thank you guys so much. I'm gonna kind of play you guys out here, and feel free to talk, and I will see you guys all in a little bit. Oh God. Jeez, very loud. All right, bye guys.